Welcome back to Minus 16. You know, it is the tech podcast where we're going to get into some really, really nitty gritty stuff about YouTube this week as well. Oh, I see some football shirt kissing. Come on then, let's get the sport bit out of the way. It's also a sport podcast, by the way, guys.
It's too. He won't be kissing that on Monday, I'll tell you that.
Go on then. Give us 30 seconds of what's just happening in the football world. Go.
Oh, we were having the pre-meeting, and I was hoping Alex would notice the shirt. My club, Newcastle, is playing his club, Liverpool, in a cup final on Sunday. I think it is at Wembley. So big game. We did.
Well, don't forget into the final, but yeah, yes, that one is ours.
I don't know. After you guys lost to PSG in the Champions League, I reckon
that's PSG though. That's not Newcastle.
Hey, we beat them 4-0 last year, so let's just all calm down. This is signed by Alan Shearer too, by the way. You ever heard of Alan Shearer, David?
I have heard of Alan Shearer. He was a Newcastle player, and he's a football pundit, and he's blonde hair, going bald. I know the guy. Well, I don't know him, but
and that's his signature.
I was once in a studio with him. Does that count? I went to BBC Sports Personalities of the Year once, and he was there. And while we're getting this weird bit of sport, which I didn't expect to happen, Chris Eubank was there, and the whole night long he just stood in the corner like this, resting on a cane, amongst all of his peers, all these sportsmen, and Eubank just didn't want to talk. Anyway,
how prophetic.
Absolutely got nothing to do with tech. So should we get... Welcome back to Minus 16, the podcast where we pretend to talk about tech and possibly something to do with the business of YouTube as well. So, Alex, I think we're going to throw the floor open to you. I've been seeing some of your tweets, and it sounds like this Oppo phone is quite something. If you're into foldables, Alex has got some news for you.
Yeah, so I've just received for review, so I didn't buy this one, as full disclosure. The brand sent it to me for... there's no commitment for me to do anything, but it's an awesome foldable phone. I've been a fan of foldable since the Fold 4, so fairly new, I think, in that world, because they've been going on for a while. But I think this is, I'm in two minds, because I like the format of the Galaxy Z Fold in general, because it's narrower on the hand. And let me pick that up as well, because that'll be a good side-by-side.
Because you use a Foldables a daily, don't you, Daniel?
I switched to the S25 Ultra, but I've got the Fold Special Edition in my other pocket.
So the Fold, I love the Fold because it's narrower than the usual, like the Pixel Fold and the any other foldable. They all have this bigger front display. The Fold itself is quite narrow, so if I put them side by side, you'll see that this is a wider.
Oh, well, that looks virtually full-size slab phone.
Let me cover my eyes so that.
Yeah.
But it's the sort of the counter argument for myself on this is it is actually because it's so thin, and this is the kind of the shocking difference. Because it's so thin, let me see if I can get it. See that? It's actually quite comfortable to hold, because it just feels like you're holding an iPhone or a Galaxy S25 Ultra. It's almost the same. I mean, it's probably a little bit thicker than the S25 Ultra, but not by much. If you look at that.
What are foldables like to sort of carry in your pocket? Do they feel chunky?
Not anymore. They used to, but not anymore.
Right.
But no, when you open it, it's what they've done here is incredible with the display. It's got similar, I'm not sure if it's the same, but it's a similar tech to that anti-reflectiveness thing that the S25 Ultra has. And the crease is virtually not there. Of course, you can feel it. And apologies for my fingerprints on this, but if I show you both creases, you see. So on this one is the Fold. Let me see. Probably have to go like that.
Yeah, just about making it out.
Yeah, it's because my face.
Yeah. The light's catching it there now. Yeah.
So it's a little bit. Well, it's way better on the Oppo. The one thing I think we can't ignore is that obviously Samsung have been doing this a long time on a software side of things, and the software is way more mature. But I have to say they haven't just slapped whatever OS that they had before on the OnePlus and the previous Oppos. It is a foldable adapted software. There's foldable things that they're probably taking a bit of a lesson from One UI for the Fold. But yeah, I'm super impressed. The cameras on this are incredible. I mean, I've only had it for 3 days, but yeah, it's a similar experience to the OnePlus 13, which is also an amazing phone. For the price is like amazing value. Honestly,
Do you
it's
know what kind of price that one's going to go at?
this one. I've no idea. I haven't
Mm.
looked because the launch has been a little bit weird.
Well, yeah,
Let's talk about
yeah,
that for a second. But I don't know
yeah.
the details on pricing because it's just yeah, I don't know.
So they
It's
sent
not
it through
cheap.
to you, and I'm assuming other creators because they were going to launch it, and then suddenly no launch. Is that kind of how it's gone?
Pretty much. They did an event in London, which I was quite annoyed that I wasn't there because it was like I'm one of the UK creators. Well, actually, it wasn't just me. There was quite a few UK creators that always go to these events, and they didn't. And I think they invited maybe two or three. So Tom, the tech chap, was there, and okay, fine. Then they brought a lot of US creators and Canadian as well over here for the launch in the UK. So you'd think that that is a great step towards bringing this thing to Europe. Um, but yeah, last minute. So Tom, I think in his video, he was up. I think he was ready to upload, and I had to kind of record like a 2-3 minute section before the video to say, "You're gonna watch my review after this." But basically, I can't recommend the phone because you can't buy it in America, you can't buy it in Europe. Is It's kind of unknown when and how you could access this device, and it's a shame because from a hardware perspective and you know everything else, I mean the software is getting there. It's definitely going to challenge other foldables. I mean primarily the Samsung Fold because I mean just from an engineering perspective it's miles. I mean it's not even a little bit better than the Fold, it's miles better. Just to make it almost like half the size with a bigger display and an anti-reflective coating as well. It's yeah,
Don't
it's
forget bigger
insane.
battery too.
Bigger battery, and I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, the battery is a great point. I was talking to a Samsung rep actually about foldables in general and why Samsung are sticking to those battery sizes for on the slab phones as well. And he raised a point which was you know to be able to deliver globally you have to be able to quickly like get it from factory to to stores, and so you have to use airplanes. And apparently there's a limit on the size of the battery that can go on
Capacity,
an
yes, there
airplane.
is.
Yeah,
Ah,
so if it goes above 5,000 or whatever it is, you have to go by ship, which is why some long I mean in the last few years you see Xiaomi phones, amazing Xiaomi phones, amazing OnePlus devices, all coming to the UK and Europe and US potentially 2-3 months after the launch, by which time from a reviewer perspective, like if you review the Chinese version, you then get hit by this all these software updates 3 months later, completely different OS for the global version. It's just mad. And in some reviews you watch, they're now specifying the global version of this or the Chinese version of that.
to
It's
make it
just a
clear.
mess for a review. So yeah.
Some I've seen recently, I can't remember what brand it is, but one Chinese version has a bigger battery than the
Yeah,
global
yeah.
version
Honor did
because
that.
they've actually that's the one. I think it might have even been you that said a bit in your review that they're
Yeah,
shipping a smaller battery for the global version, and it's probably down to what you were just saying
yeah,
about how they wanted to ship it globally, so they had to reduce the capacity
yeah.
to be able to
On
ship
the
it on a plane.
Yeah, on the flagship version, that's the case. On the more kind of mid-range version, I forgot the actual model name, is the Honors, the Magic 7 something, not the Pro. That one has a bigger battery than the Pro, which is like even on the global version. So I think it's the case of it's just getting to those countries later. So in that case, they're not reducing the battery size. But if they want to reach global like stores at the same time, they have to reduce. They have to have two versions.
And I know,
That's crazy.
Daniel, you say you sort of carry the foldable in your other pocket. I've never used. I mean, the nearest I got was when I had that Samsung Flip for a short time. So the glory of a foldable? Is it just that you've got that much more screen real estate that it becomes almost a tablet once
It's
it's
a mini
open? You just
tablet,
got
yeah.
that's the appeal of them,
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's knowledge that you've got a normal smartphone, and then at any moment that you need to, you've got more screen on the inside of it.
It's
And that
awesome, yeah.
can come down to entertainment, that can come down to reading emails, spreadsheets, any form of productivity that you need to do, it's
Mm,
there. But then there's the other
mm.
thing too, that the hinge is sort of strong enough to be able to hold the phone up as well. So you've got
Mm.
a tripod, you've
The
got a
tripod.
stand for your videos. There's just so much more that it enables. And that's why I just can't leave my house without it or just not have it in my other pocket. Because as much as I love what the Ultra gives me, it just can't do what the foldable can do.
Mm,
Yeah, I
mm.
agree. I mean, I took this to, I think it was Germany last year, and I used it for lots of shots in that
Yeah.
format, so that you put
The
it
sort
down
of
like
flex
that, and
mode,
it's
yeah.
basically your tripod. You know, for a solo creator, this, I mean, you got to be careful not to scratch it. I think Daniel, you're very brave with how
Yeah,
you
I don't
use
care.
yours, but I'm very like I put like leaves underneath it to, to kind of try. But yeah, this one does the same thing, and it has the kind of the flip, you know, the flip mode on Samsung. So when you fold and you're watching YouTube, you get controls at the bottom. It becomes almost like a
Yep.
mini laptop, right? You kind of let's
Oh
see
yeah,
if I can. I'm not
the
sure.
fold and the flip both have that. Yeah. That's where I think they were the ones that started it. And then it's kind of been pioneered as time's gone on.
Were Samsung the first to get into
Yeah,
foldables?
so you got
Yeah.
like the video on top, and
And
then the
then yeah, YouTube.
controls at the bottom.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
YouTube. YouTube have kind of come on board with that as well.
Mm.
Were Samsung the first? First to commercially ship a foldable, yes. First to like announce one, no. The Royale Flex Pi actually were the first to market to announce a foldable, but it didn't ship. Well, it might have shipped. I don't know. It was a very weird release, and it was a very terrible foldable. They just
Right.
rushed a product out the door to be the first. But in terms of the scale, Samsung were definitely the first, even if they had to delay it because of durability issues. Now, Huawei were very, very close behind them. They announced theirs a day after, but then they also took a lot longer to ship because of durability and then the whole Trump thing, and that kind of
And
killed
how
them.
far are we into the foldables now? How many gens are we on?
Fold 6 was last year, so we're probably
Right.
due for Fold 7 in July.
And are they still quite a small market? I
Yes.
think you said is it in China they're big? But
Yeah, the
Globally,
globally,
in
Asian
foldables
general.
are
Asia
Asia. Yeah,
Asia, they're
yeah.
massive, yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
But yeah,
people.
right,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
they're now going to trifolds, right? And I
yeah.
think
yeah.
that's coming too. It does. You know, I think someone asked me the other day. Is like someone who isn't really into tech and is not really into this. What I show this phone to them, in kind of just in our social setting, and they're like, "Oh my god, you know, this is this is incredible." Um, is Apple making one? That was their first question, because you know they look at it and go, "Oh, this is awesome," but I'm so scared to touch it because it's like completely unfamiliar. But if it was an Apple OS here, people would go, "This is the best thing since sliced bread." I guarantee you, if this had an Apple logo on it, people
Mm.
would go berserk. But because it's Oppo, or it could have been Samsung or whatever, it's just not taken over yet in the West. But it's a matter of time, though. I think Apple are probably waiting for the tech to. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
close now to being absolutely flawless. The At the event in Barcelona last week, which was awesome as well, MWC, Samsung had a section for displays, and they had all sorts of innovations in there. And you can see where this is going. That, you know, even there was a kind of a briefcase one that you can open and it becomes an entire like tablet. But the tech there was interesting because there was absolutely no crease. So they're working on things that are almost like stretching the screen when you open. So Lenovo do something like that. I think Lenovo has a laptop that when you open it extends it kind of
Mm.
vertically.
Rollable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's, I
yeah.
mean,
I've seen
it's
those
getting to a
rumors.
point where Apple, I think, will probably have enough to go and develop their own, and obviously come up and say we invented the new fold. You know, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's that talk at the moment whether they're gonna when they do, and it seems almost a given they will get into foldables at some point, and I'm guessing they were just waiting for that crease technology to be where they wanted it to be and the
I mean,
durability.
why wouldn't
But
you,
then it's
right? I mean, it's obviously cannibalizing a little bit the iPad market, but
yeah,
it's such an I mean, when you especially when it gets this like cool animations like that.
mm.
Now people would love this. If this was an Apple device, people would go mental. I mean, I could see Marquez, kind of drooling over this stuff, but he won't because it's.
Take it out.
I think to
Let's
be
just think of
fair,
what his thumbnail will be, shall we?
I think to be fair, yeah, I think he did say great things about this phone.
That's it. I've just made it.
Screenshot, yeah,
Yeah,
screenshot. That
there.
was it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to be fair
um,
to him, he did say great things about this particular phone. But again, it's one of those Americans can't buy it. So it's kind of at the moment
Yeah.
anyway.
which is kind of interesting because obviously Oppo sound like they got a great device, but they've let themselves down with marketing, whether that was an international glitch or whether
Distribution
that's a
more than
UK.
marketing. Marketing's great.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then, at the moment, Apple just do not seem to be able to get it right. Their marketing is all over the shop. I mean, whether or not Apple Intelligence is ever going to be any good or not is almost irrelevant at the moment. The way they're delivering the
I
point
think
to
again,
the
it's
public
probably
is
that one is.
shambolic.
I'd say the marketing message was actually okay. I mean, I do remember thinking, "Oh my god, how
Early
clever
on,
to call it Apple Intelligence instead of AI."
yeah, using the AI, yeah.
Awesome idea, but the
Mm.
execution is being. I'm not. I've said this in my reviews. I don't remember being in the tech world, even outside the consumer world, in like the enterprise space. I've never seen a code release or software release or any updates from Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, any of these big players. I've never seen a launch of a software package be this bad because it just
No, I
simply
mean,
haven't delivered on the promise. It's just terrible,
and
right?
early on, you're quite right. The marketing was really on point in what they were promising at last year's
I
WWDC,
thought
and
that
as
was
each
really. I
month has
mean,
gone
it's
along,
stupid but clever. It's like it's
yeah. But
almost
then
too good to be like. You can't
well,
you
it
can't
literally
really
is too good to be
criticize
true.
them for
Yeah.
that. It's like why not call it Apple Intelligence? Yeah.
But everything they were saying was going to happen, App Intense and so on, all sounded fantastic. And then one by one by one, it's just fallen by the wayside. They've been
Mm.
very slow. I mean, it's only this week they started taking off of the website. Some of the mentions of Apple Intelligence is on this device. They're now
Oh, really?
beginning to, yeah, they're reining it
Mm.
back in now and saying it will be available in a future release. They're now making that clear because obviously now you've probably seen that Siri, the new intelligent Siri, is going to be next year,
It's a car crash.
which makes
Absolute car
yeah,
crash.
it's
Yeah.
it's awful. And it makes me wonder what the hell they're going to talk about at WWDC in, I don't know, 8 weeks' time, because they're still going to be reeling from last year's WWDC,
Whatever
where they announced Apple.
they must be
They've got nothing to
they
talk
must be
about.
working there. I mean, I do feel sorry
Oh,
for
God.
developers and their teams working on this stuff. Like obviously they can't
Mm.
control some of the stuff. Some decisions probably don't come from who knows, right? What's going on inside there. But I can just imagine, right, being in this world where there's so much negative noise about your product. They must be working their asses off to bring something that will be it has to be right for the iPhone 17. They have to be like bring the best AI ever right, than any other phone. And I don't know, at the moment it's hard to see it happening.
It's one of the first times I've ever seen, I guess, a hint of panic from Apple in a software release because
Totally.
they normally, as everyone loves to say, so measured. They wait till it's ready. They'll watch everyone else
Mm.
do it, and then they'll release it, and it's perfect.
It was rushed,
But
yeah.
they were marketing something before it was ready, before it was even available on a phone, months in advance, and just
Mm.
heavily promoting it. And they've never done that
If it-
before. I have never seen Apple put marketing out there about a feature that you can't use now.
I think
And they were
AirPower
doing that
maybe was
for
one of the was it
months.
Air I think maybe
it
The
was
it,
the
wireless charging.
yeah,
yeah,
well,
was
yeah,
that
yeah.
thing? I
That
don't know if
wireless
it was
charger.
actually marketed, but it was definitely talked about, but never came to fruition. But this is way worse because they
And I feel
were
like it's
shouting from the rooftops, AI this, AI that, and it just yeah.
I think it's because they thought they were going to be behind. So they were getting something out there to say, hey, look, we're in the game. We're dominant. Look how good it is. Let everyone know that Apple has AI because their marketing will cut through not just sort of us, it'll cut through into the
Mm.
general population.
General public.
The
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
gen pop, if you want to use a prison term. The people that don't know smartphones very well, they'll know about it. But then
Mm.
what it's done, I think, is because it's not ready and these people are like Apple Intelligence sucks, it's actually drawn attention onto the rest of the AI space on other smartphones and saying, well, what else is happening? And I
It's
think that's
crazy, right?
probably going to be a positive for competitors more than it has ever will be for Apple.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a bit of an anecdote. I mean, it was a few weeks ago, and I tweeted about it. I don't think we've mentioned it here before, but I was at a cafe, my local cafe here, and I was like, my usual morning, and there's two ladies working behind the counter, and one of them was showing the other that their iPhone had Apple Intelligence, and you work, they know that I run this channel and whatever, and they say, oh, can you help me put this on my phone? And she had like, I think it was an iPhone 14 Pro Max, perfectly good new phone, right? I was like, I'm sorry, you can't. Even though it's crap, people, whether it's right or wrong, people still think that they've got it and this is amazing thing. Even though it's in beta here in the UK, you have to like go through a bit of a loophole using US as your language or whatever. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I think it's 18.3 or whatever. But
No,
at
you
that
can use
time,
the
they were
UK, but
like,
yeah.
I mean, I could see in her face the disappointment, and you know, it's probably no secret to anybody. I'm not the biggest Apple fan, you know, but even I felt embarrassed on Apple's behalf to say to her,
Mm.
"Your brand new, your phone that is not even 2 years old. I think it was a 15 Pro Max, might be even a 15. It's like you know, she's probably still paying for the phone, and it can't have the latest feature. And I think that's where I mean, I always had a suspicion that this thing, oh, you have to get the latest chip to enable features on across. It's not just Apple who do this, right? But Apple do this really well. That says to get this latest feature, software feature, you have to have this latest hardware. And it's like, really? I mean, how much more processing are you doing on device to warrant that? It's not like you can't even like your photo removal feature doesn't even work, right? Um, so yeah.
That's actually, well, I'll say it's one of the few features I've used of Apple Intelligence I quite like. It has its limitations, but it's actually slightly better than Lightroom's version, for instance. So I do use that from time to time. I know it's not as I've seen what Samsung can do in a
Oh
way.
no,
It can just
it's nowhere
put
near
half of a face
it's
back
nowhere
in
near as
and
good as any Android. I mean, take Pixel, take Samsung, Apple's just. I mean, I met the guy who came up with that trend. That put the face like this.
Mark's
Mm.
Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't him. He copied this chap called I think it's called Nick from TA Tech Tips on TikTok.
Oh, I met
Yeah,
Nick in
in
Unpacked.
California. Yeah, he was in San Jose. So he was in Barcelona last week, and we got talking. Yeah, great guy. But
Great
yeah,
guy.
he's the one who actually came up with that trend, and Marquez ended up doing Mister Who's the everyone's doing it. But yeah, that one is incredible. How bad Apple replaces a part of your face. Even to make up a face, it doesn't need to be your face, right? It just needs to be complete a face, and it's like you can't do it. Um, yeah, just
no, I mean, and equally, sort of on their marketing, it's really odd because we just had this sort of mid-year dump of a load of products, and they came out with the new base iPad, the 11th gen, what do you want to call it? And yet, I would have died on my sword to say that every product now they wanted to have Apple Intelligence, and yet this new iPad can't. It's the A16 on it, so they've just released a new product in there. That's what I'm saying. The marketing's just wrong. Yes, I know it's important to him to get it in that 329 price point. Fine, I get that, but nonetheless, it just seems weird that they've suddenly released this product, having said that Apple Intelligence is going to be available on all of our devices. Oh well, apart from that one. So really, they've got this fractured product line. It just doesn't make sense, and I don't know if it is just a case now of the lunatics are running the asylum to some degree
yeah.
because
But just
it's
imagine
not
you
making any
bought.
cohesive sense.
Yeah, just imagine. I mean, to be honest, if I wasn't doing these reviews, I'd probably be still running not the 13 Pro Max anymore, but maybe the 15. Would that would be my daily probably. Um, that's the one that I gave my wife. It's a perfectly good phone. I think he's now just over 2 years old, right? Or just barely 2 years old. Nothing wrong with the phone, and you can't run that software. It's like
Mm.
it's just. Of course you can. It's just they're limiting it to not
Oh
run. But
yeah,
as a user, you go, hang on a second. I just bought this phone. It's like,
They,
as a regular, no one is buying phones every year, right? So like, I just bought a phone 2 years ago. I expect to have software support.
yeah,
Whatever new features you bring in should be able to run on my phone for the next at least
yeah.
5 years.
I think there's been this while they're lost and they don't know which way they're going. I think there's been this almost subliminal, not rebrand, but it's almost like they've decided, look, we're just going to pitch ourselves as this optimal brand. You want
Mm.
to buy our products, you pay our price. That's where we're going to sit. And I was thinking about this morning before the pod, thinking, Ford, for instance, had, bear with me, you'll see kind of where I'm going, had like heated front windscreens way before Rolls Royce did. Now, talk about brands, everyone's going to say they want a Rolls Royce, yet Ford had way more features than Rolls Royce did at times. And it seems that Apple are taking this high ground where they've got their heritage to pull back on and say, no, we're going to just pitch ourselves here. You want us, you come and get us.
It's
While
still
they
a
sort this mess out.
premium, a status kind of thing attached to the brand
It
that,
is.
I say a lot of people, not just in America, I mean, mostly in America, but a lot of outside of America,
I
everywhere
was,
you go, an Apple device just means something to people that it
yeah,
goes
yeah.
beyond how good or bad the device is. It's not about that,
I was watching
unfortunately.
Drive to Survive and binging on that, and every single team member and driver and
Yeah, yeah.
team principal all using iPhones. I
I've
didn't see.
I've been
I
there. I've
mentioned it
been
last time. That's sad. I said I didn't
Yeah,
see a single hand. Not one. It's just weird. The whole thing was just purely Apple.
yeah. And I've been there. I've been a user of everything Apple for years. It kind
Mm,
of, when it works, it's awesome. But
mm.
I think I'd say in the last, I'd say 5 years at least, they've had their, the challenges are coming up with better things, and it's like makes you question at least and try other things. And everyone
I
who
mean,
does seems to be, oh, I'm glad I tried it, because yes, you lose out on being part of that little club, but is it that much? Is it that
I,
important? Um,
I mean, they got it really right with Apple Silicon. I mean, even Daniel, obviously, you were thinking of getting a Mac Mini. Apple Silicon kind of changed everything in
oh yeah, on
power,
Max you can't
quietness,
fault them on
performance,
that. Yeah,
and equally,
But even with
but
even like they're now just relying on Apple Silicon without having to do much else around the product. Like the MacBook Air M4
yeah.
is like it's basically the same MacBook Air from the M2 MacBook Air
and the
from like
M1, yeah.
two and well the M1 I think was the old style design, wasn't it? And then the M2 brought the
But
new
it's
The new
I
shape,
mean,
new
yeah.
shell.
I had
Nailed.
all of them. Is pretty much the same, right? I
But
mean,
it's just
a new
but
color, I think
effectively
Starlight or whatever.
But
It,
again, that's where they have actually given you something, because now you're getting 16 gigs of RAM for £100 or dollars less.
whoopie doo.
They can do it when they want to do it. So you're getting no one wanted 8 gigs, because 8 gigs is touch and go as soon as you begin opening a few Chrome tabs. And then, so they are doing something. And
the
what
bare
I've seen of
minimum.
this, yeah, and what I've seen of the 16E, say what we like about it, that modem in that is making a difference. And Andrew, Claire, and I were talking about it. It must be the modem. That thing lasts 2 days straight.
Uh,
It's
I'm
It's
not
a bigger
sure.
battery, I'm pretty sure,
I'd
that contributing
I'd
to
like
that
to
as
see some
mm,
well.
data on that. I mean, I think, I mean, I asked, Patrick was in Barcelona with his 16E, and I,
mm,
I asked him to
mm,
run some actual, because you can run this thing, and we'll probably put in the description on how to run it yourself. So you can type a code on your phone on the dial to call somebody. You can type this code like star hash
mhm,
1 2 3 4 5 or whatever, and you will come up with instead of looking at the 1 2 3 4 5 bars, it will give you
mm.
how much for that location where you are, what the signal strength is, what the interference is, and whatever. And I'd love to see someone do a side by side comparison, to say, right, what is this? Say the 16 Pro Max or the 16 Pro in the same location. What is that like
Yeah, I mean,
side by side?
uh, I didn't do anything quite as advanced. When I was in London picking it up, I had 4G on both, because obviously the 16E hasn't got millimeter waves, so you haven't got the
Yeah.
5G on it. But I was doing the speed test on it, and yes, it was a slower modem, quite
Mm.
considerably slower, but the call quality is good. Dead spots around here are slightly better on it. But the main difference it's made is the power consumption. So I think they might be on the cusp of something good there again.
Mm.
With, if they can make it that good on this first one, then maybe we're looking at better battery life for the Air that's coming out, or 17, 18, whatever. I think
It
that could
might
be
be
their
just
mobile
the
equivalent of Apple Silicon.
it
How
might be
sure are
just the
you
fact that it's so I was
that
just
it's
gonna
not a
say, I
plus?
think the 16E battery, it might be just because it's running that much older processor on a newer battery tech, right? And then, like, as a low refresh display, iOS probably optimizes for
They
just
removed
keep, you know,
one of the cores from the A18 too, didn't they,
remove the
as
core. So
well?
it's not really pushing anything for the battery. I mean, I'll be surprised if the battery was, but some are they promising? I think the mid-range phones on Samsung are also promising 2-day battery now. Um, so yeah, it's not a thing. I don't think that I would be bragging about that one on the 16E. I'm confused about why that device exists, to be honest, considering you could buy the 15 Pro, you know, for the same price.
It's a corporate phone. Corporates are going to buy it and give it to their employees by the shed load.
Yeah, I can
It's a
see
new
that.
phone. They don't have to give it a second thought. They just go, and also it's £25 a month, and that's kind of where Apple wanted it to be. Hit £25 a month, ship it out to the carriers, ship it out to corporates, and they're
Mm.
going to buy it by the truckload. And if somebody goes into
Yeah,
a store now,
it's a gateway drug, right? It's like you just get this
oh,
cheap
totally.
thing, and then
And
you know you go, oh, I want a watch as well. I want the other,
I'm
maybe.
not going to take credit for this. This was somebody that was reading me on Medium came up with this comment, and I loved it. He said, "Well, now you can go into a shop and say, do you want one cameras, two cameras, or three cameras?" I thought, yeah, that's probably the way to go. How many cameras do you want on your phone, sir? Which is kind of the way to go. So, yeah,
I still think it's a I avoided. I think I did a short video on it. I avoided doing anything because I just don't like to sound like I'm bashing them all the time. But they're not helping me. You know, they're giving me a lot of ammunition right now to kind of go rant. I just don't fancy doing it. But fuck me, yeah, honestly,
yeah. Well,
yes.
actually, as we're sort of now beginning to go into the YouTube side of the pod, one thing I have learned, and I know we've talked about this before, was that was the first phone I've taken my time with to do a review, and I learned so many lessons about that. And we've spoken about this about dear old Marquez and so on. When you actually use the thing and get to grips with it, Jesus, it makes a difference when you make a video. When you've actually used the damn thing
Mm.
for a few days and seen what it behaves like. I know that, that's the basis of your channel, Daniel, but I mean, it's kind of like, wow, it makes such a difference. And I know you've said, when you watch Marquez's videos that he just hasn't taken it out the studio. It's quite obvious.
Yeah. I still haven't done my S25 Ultra review on my channel. Like I'm
There you go.
still waiting probably another month. I'll do it maybe mid-April and then I'll drop
So that'd
it.
be how many months? That'd be 3 months, 4 months?
Well, I've had it since December, so 5 months. And I'm going to play to that. I did that with my
Hmm.
S23 Ultra review. I said 6 months later, and it would only been out for 5. Anyway, that's just
I think
trickery.
the three of us are kind of trade on that at least when people watch us, they'll get an honest video
Mm.
and know that we've actually used the thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just kind of picking up saying, oh, it's black, it's got
I
two
will
cam, whatever,
I will play devil's advocate because not to the same, nowhere near the scale that these guys have, right? But the moment you start reviewing more things, it gets harder for you to get into a lot of the detail. What
Yeah.
I would say though is that if you have a big team behind you, there's definitely scope for someone to be doing the research for you and say, right, you need to mention this in more detail. You need to, go into where, I don't think a lot of, I mean, some really do a good job, and I think even Aaron, Mr. Who's the Boss, is doing better in that aspect of kind of actually getting to the detail of things. But you're right, yeah, some others are very superficial in what they do, but I don't blame them. They probably have quite a few pies to put their fingers on. That
I
came
think
out
the
wrong, but yeah.
thing,
Anyway,
it's not Marquez's fault, but like he's obviously very invested in the Apple ecosystem because he edits on Macs, he uses iPads, he obviously daily drives an iPhone in one of his pockets. So he can, when he reviews an Apple product, he can review the whole product because he's pretty much been a part of that ecosystem. When he reviews any other sort of Android manufacturer, it's a bit harder for him to sort of get into the meat of that because he doesn't use
mm,
their earphones, he doesn't wear their smartwatch, he doesn't use their tablet. So he's not as familiar. Whereas I think he could pick up an Apple product after a week and review it because he's like, well,
Mm.
I'm in the ecosystem of that, so I know what I'm talking about. Just like I could review the A56 now without even using it because I know what that phone is because I
But I
don't
know it's
need to.
like, I think it's one of your recent videos where you're highlighting just the different Samsung products you've got around your house, TVs, aircon,
Exactly.
because you're so invested in the Samsung life that everything you use and touch, which means it immediately makes sense to you and immediately resonates with you.
Yes.
You could pick it up and be familiar with it from day one and then say, okay, well, yeah, that's a given, but this is what this can do. It's got these added things. And that's part of the benefit of, I don't know, YouTube, well, we said that there's a creator for everybody, but I think, Alex, I think we were having a chat about it this week on our group chat. Was the way your flavors change of who you want to watch and what you want to watch for you on YouTube. And
Mm,
my if I look back a year ago about who I was watching, boy,
yeah.
have I changed.
Yeah, and I think that's a good kind of recommendation to anyone kind of starting out as a content creator. I think I did that. I think we all do when we start. We look for inspiration, right? We look what is it that makes us tick and enjoy. And to a certain extent, you have to learn somehow. And if you're not
Mm,
in the film industry, if you're not in the photography industry or whatever, you have to almost copy others,
mm,
right? To
mm.
cover to replicate what they do, and you find yourself like spending weeks and weeks and weeks to get like a 15-second intro or whatever to look like someone else did it, right? So, oh, look, I've created this in the style of whatever. That is, even though you don't want to prolong that, I think is a valuable thing to do, to look up and say, right, what is it that you like, and build your own taste after. I mean, immediately go into your own
Emulate,
thing,
yeah.
but learn the
Mm,
skill by emulating others. And
mm.
I've done that. I'm pretty sure we've all done an
Oh,
element of it,
absolutely.
but
Mm.
it's just a natural way to do it. But I'd say it's important to it's a cliche thing, but and you hear that all the time. To just be yourself, right? It's
Mm.
important to, and what I mean by that is just come up with your own twist on things, and the other thing is have an opinion. Sometimes it's not about the flashy transitions and effects, and I love doing those, but I think it's important to not sit on the fence all the time. Sometimes you might have to, but most of the time, I think your audience wants something. What is it that this guy really thinks about this stuff? Because in some of these massive channels, I always see it's like, okay, well, you told me what this thing is and what it does, which I could have done myself by looking at the box. You haven't really given me your opinion, and I think that's kind of where I think we come in. We come in with like,
Yeah,
okay, we actually have
hands on and
a stand on this thing, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's wrong, but I think it's important to just be yourself and actually say what you think.
so as we begin now very much to get into the YouTube business, Daniel, you put up a long tweet today about this whole talk about marketing again. Fun enough, it's a theme running through this pod. Do you want to sort of run us through what that was all about? It's all to do with this mid-roll announcement that YouTube made for creators, wasn't it?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, and I think we discussed it on the last pod briefly.
Mm.
YouTube put up this notification in Studio saying that from May 12, they're changing how mid rolls work, and they're now going to place more mid rolls alongside manual ones more specifically. And everyone in the community was like, "What are you doing? You're completely going to mess everything up. Like you're already messing everything up. Now it's just worse." And they kind of handled it wrong. And then I saw this tweet today. It's this guy that occasionally pops up in my feed, and he sort of breaks things down for creators. He was putting a positive spin on what this will do,
Hmm.
and
It's
his
great.
is effectively the long or the short version of the long tweet is that YouTube initially was canceling out if you put a manual mid roll in, or sort of putting a strike through it saying that it's interruptive and we're not going to show it. Whereas now YouTube are going to still do that, but alongside that, place their own non interruptive automatic ad alongside your own manual ones. But then they're going to show you that they're going to cancel out. There'll be a red mark next to the interruptive manual ad that you've placed. So effectively, YouTube is going to automate the process alongside your manual ones. And in their eyes, they're helping correct and add non interruptive ads alongside ads you've put in as well.
Mm.
And the whole thing is YouTube wants you to make money.
More money,
And
yeah.
well, they want them to make money. That's their goal.
I still find unbelievable, and it's I wish someone would do like some sort of expose on this, because when I started out, I remember like having way less than 10,000 subs, making a month in AdSense more than what I'm doing now with 140,000 subs. Obviously,
Really?
a lot of it is down to views and the advertisers at that time. But I think if it feels wrong, right? That my channel is, I don't know, six, seven times bigger than it was then, and
But
I'm making
CPM couldn't have
less.
been that much higher back then, was it? It's not
It's similar, yeah. You see, my CPM
Yeah.
has always been a little bit higher comparatively to others in the same niche. But yeah, I'm actually earning less than I've ever done. So I think
So I'm
there's
trying to work the
something.
I'm trying to
Well, I
work the
don't know if
logic
it's
on
the
that because the view obviously you've got the historic views on your channel as well. So if people are watching one video, they're probably going to watch 2, 3, or 4 others. So you should be getting
yeah. I
AdSense
mean,
on all those videos. And
we talked about this before here as well, right? YouTube is becoming, at the moment anyway, it feels like a little bit like TikTok, right? It's a curation of recommendations rather than a community building thing. Um, it feels. I think it was a guy who runs. He owns. So there's a bit of a bias, obviously, but he runs Patreon. He did an
Mhm.
entire video on this, which was awesome, to say how you know your community is not always being recommended your videos. A part of it
Now,
is, but I can tell by all my videos. Like, there's no way my notifications is going to everybody. There's no way my front page is displaying, my videos to all my viewers. They are very.
I
It's not as good
now
as it
this
used to
week,
be.
I don't know if you guys found this week, I've had a number of messages, people saying, I've got notifications turned on, and I didn't get a
That's been a
notification it
problem for
uploaded."
ages, and there's also the fact that, I mean, if your video is a banger and is like a hot topic and everything, you can kind of rely on new viewers coming in anyway. But for videos that are not, they're like, what we call hub videos. They're helper videos. They're not really going to be flagship type videos.
Mm.
Um, yeah, they don't go to everyone, and it's a shame because it's more about YouTube figuring out. You can see in the stats as well. You can see, like, it used to be in the first few hours of a video, you get really good views, like amazing views, and then you would taper off, which is a natural thing to do. Now, I'd say 90%
Mine's
of my
reversed at the
videos
moment.
started off really slow. Then,
Mhm.
maybe a day or two later, you start picking up views.
Mhm.
It's almost like YouTube is
Mhm.
learning
And it'll
about the
die
video.
again.
But then you will die again. Yeah, you will have the
Yeah.
spiking
Yeah.
unless it's an absolute banger, which we can't create bangers every week,
No,
right?
and also it's a flip of a coin. What makes a bang? Just because something takes off, it might not be a video that you felt particularly confident about. Sometimes they just take off because
Yeah, yeah,
But
if
there,
we
well,
knew that magic formula, we'd all be doing it every time, wouldn't we?
but there was that
yeah.
other change in YouTube that I noticed a couple weeks ago, but it's disappeared now from my YouTube app. Where you launch the phone, it goes straight into the Shorts feed. But in the Shorts
Oh
feed was
yeah.
long form
Oh,
videos
yes. Yeah, 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 yeah,
alongside
yeah.
short form videos, and then there was
Almost
like a
like they were
button to
experimenting
rotate
with
it.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "This is a terrible decision." Like, if they stick
Mm.
with this, it's gonna be one of the worst changes to the YouTube app
Absolutely.
that I can imagine. I understand that for
Yeah.
discoverability, it might help maybe people get creative, but who in their right mind is scrolling Shorts and then wants to see a 20-minute 16:9 video pop up?
I
And
all
then
but
not have the option to go into, like, the standard
And
YouTube player. It
mm,
sticks with you in that Shorts feed.
mm,
I
yeah.
can
It's a
imagine that would
shame.
kill retention for it's gone
Mm.
now. Like, I just checked then, it's
I don't.
gone.
Yeah, I know you screenshot it, and it was like, What's he? Is that? I couldn't quite work out what you were showing me to start with, and it was like,
I
Perplexed.
what?
think the
Yeah,
whole the whole shorts thing for me on YouTube is just a dog's dinner as well. It's almost as bad as the Apple Intelligence stuff. I mean, it's, as a creator, there's very little, like, incentive for me to actually go and create a short. I all but gave up
I
on it.
stopped.
I'm almost
Yeah.
like investing more in Instagram Reels than in Shorts because there's more brand awareness. There's more kind of engagement even on Instagram than on YouTube Shorts. I still upload them, but I used to be able to say, here's a short, and if you want to know the kind of more detail, go for the full review here. And also, people could buy from your shorts,
Mm.
which was awesome. I
They
made
removed
the
links
best
from the
revenue
description,
from
didn't they?
mm,
affiliate through shorts. But now there's no, because you can't link anything on shorts now unless it's another video.
mm.
And I can see why, right? It's like they want people to stay on the platform, but you're really screwing creators here because we're kind of, what is the
As
point of creating shorts again? Just to keep people on the platform scrolling, just dumb scrolling. I'm not
as long as
into
they're
that.
real viewers, as long as they're real viewers that they're keeping on the
Uh,
platform and not fake ones.
Beautiful,
That's
beautiful
happened as
segue,
well.
my man.
What a
Beautiful
segue.
segue. Which we go first? We go for the one that I was worried about this week personally, or what we've seen with a couple of your friends, Alex,
Yeah,
Pete, and
our friends,
RJ
right?
have been hit by.
One of our guests came here. One of us future guests. So
Friend of the
RJ
show.
Tech, yeah, friends of the show, and Pete Matheson. Awesome creators. One from the UK, the other from Canada. both almost at the same time. It's like a day or two difference. Got hit by this thing where about 10 of their videos, not necessarily recent videos, but random videos, got the exact amount of views in a very like in a big spike, like 5,000 views in a day. I think they both got about 3,000 subs from this like wave of views, and they are commenting and they're like subscribing and whatever, but they're all bots. It seems YouTube, as usual, very quiet on Twitter, on X. No one to liaise with. See what I did there? Um, yeah, and yesterday, I think it was RJ first and then Pete or the other way around. I'm not sure, but they said that YouTube cleaned up, and you can see the graph. So that the spike of 3,000 subs next day minus 1,500 thousand, so 1,500 subs. So it's almost like YouTube cleaned up, but not really
They found
cleaned
it.
up completely. Well, they they found something and sort of did a bit of a clean up, but silence, right? No, nothing from support, nothing online. Yeah, very
That's the most
very the
frustrating
usual.
part, I think, about it,
Oh,
is that when you have an issue and there is no, barring like a bot comment or an automated comment back from the YouTube help or creators
Yeah,
Twitter account,
that's all. If
there
you if
is
you're worried about
nothing.
this, just report it. It's like that's useless. Obviously I reported it.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, you and I were doing the pod. Daniel, I was talking while waiting for you just before we start recording. I said, "Do you remember I got hit by that invalid traffic strike?"
Yeah,
And
yeah. A lot of people
clearly,
did.
it
Yeah,
worried me. And but there's nobody you can talk to. There's not a single person that you can actually. And we all know they've kind of buried their head in the sand with that full stop anyway, as if it doesn't exist.
yeah.
But
They're obviously dealing with it in the
when's it going to lift?
background.
What have I done wrong? Nobody to ask.
The lack of transparency to creators in that aspect, and it's to put into context, right? It's not a million miles away from this happening, but if one of those views gets identified as fake view or whatever, your channel could be deleted, right? With no explanation. They'll go, right, we found this like illegal view or whatever, done. You got your channel is revoked or whatever. What would stop them? How would you like?
Yeah,
You'd have to be a massive, like, you can't look at the data, you can't see really, I mean, you can see the country where the view is coming from, but you can't really see really who's sending these views to you, and why 10 videos, random videos, and why the same amount of views, and why my channel, right? I would be asking, it's like, why? It's weird, and YouTube just lacks a little bit of transparency with those massive issues. Unless you're Linus or Marquez or Mr. Beast, we're kind
yeah,
of in
you
the
got
Oh,
direct
dark.
if
access
that
then. But
happened
yeah,
to Mr. Beast, it would be solved yesterday.
We wouldn't even hear about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did Pete ever find out where those views came from? Like what countries?
yeah. The countries are there. So RJ's, I think, is Pakistan, and Pete's, I'm not sure exactly, but it's a different country, but all from the same country.
And what were
I can bring that up.
what was the source of the view? Because it tells you what the
or
source
browse
was,
or
like browse or YouTube
Yeah,
advertising, which we'll get
I
to
don't
with
know
you,
if they got
David.
that. Yeah, I'm not sure if they
yeah.
got
Well,
that.
that's, I mean, it's something again I mentioned to you guys this week. So I did a sponsored video a couple of weeks ago, not directly with the brand, through an agency. Early on in our conversations, they had this thing about it read very much that if you don't get certain views, we're going to buy views. And I said, okay, I'm walking away from this. I don't want it. It went quiet for a couple of weeks, and they came back and said, we've taken that out of the contract. Also took out any mention of guaranteed views. All I gave them was 30 days to use on the website of the brand. That was it. And then I kept an eye on it for the first few days. Everything was kind of what I thought. We know that dedicated videos tend to get fairly low views.
Mm.
Nothing to worry about. Suddenly, it jumped up to 4,000, 6,000. And all the views are coming from Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Russia on browse as well, by the way, Daniel. It was on Russia on browse. And so I got straight back in touch with him. He said, no, these are genuine views. I said, no way. No, I haven't had a single comment.
Mm.
6,000 views, not one comment. These are not genuine views. And I'm that close to taking the video down because I'm so worried that I'm going to get some sort of trouble from YouTube over it. And I don't know, how do they place views on our videos like that?
So
Is it just these?
by the sounds of what that was, if it's coming from those countries and it's browse features, that almost sounds like bots. like that
So
are
so
or
Pete's
like click
case,
farms, right?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So in Pete's case, actually found a website where the views were coming from. So almost like they embedded your videos. So he turned off embedding for most of his videos now. Um, but it's affecting even unlisted videos. It's
What?
how is an
How do they?
unlisted video
Yeah.
being impacted by this? Crazy, right? We'll share some screenshots with people, maybe on. I don't know. We probably need to put like a community post on this because it's quite a lot of information, a lot of links, a lot
Mm.
of, and it's yeah to gain 3,000 subs in a day like that
Mm,
in one day to gain. I mean, what you would normally make in a month
mm.
is really worrying
Because
because I would be terrified. Because like obviously these
yeah.
are all
Well,
fake subs. They're not real. And YouTube
yeah.
could
'Cause
very easily go, "What are you doing? You're both you kind of you're inflating things here, and it's illegal. You know, cancel."
have you had any touch with this at all, Daniel? Any of your sponsored
I
videos or any?
occasionally will get a YouTube advertising spike where the brand will chuck a
Yeah.
bit of money in to advertise it through YouTube. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of that. And they kind of did it without warning to a
All my
video that was already
contracts now.
performing well. Like it was
Yeah.
already at 45,000 and they chucked some money at it. Whatever. It was months ago. Like the video was months old and it
Mm.
spiked to 1,000 and it got to 51,000 and they stopped.
But
Whatever.
that's
The
bad too,
video had
right?
already done it. I don't like it.
That's
And they didn't
that's
tell me
terrible too. I
about
mean,
it.
at least they used in that case they are using the
The
official
tool. Yeah,
advertising from
correct.
YouTube, for Google,
Could
whatever,
you see
Google
they'd
Ads.
use the official tool, or was it
You
just they
can
told
Oh,
you?
it
you can
shows. Yeah, it shows.
see in the thing it says
Promotions.
YouTube
Right.
advertising is the title of it. And then
Right.
that's where all the views come from for the source.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Because
and we talked
yours
about
doesn't
this at
sound like
length
that.
before, right? Those views, it's I don't think they're real people either. But
No.
we talked about this before as well. But I
Yeah.
think in your case, David, you had one where the brand just sent them some views. It wasn't through YouTube advertisement. That to me is a massive, like, not just a red flag. It's almost like a suing conversation. It's like they could get your channel cancelled by doing this. I've deleted a video before when a brand did exactly that. They sent bot views. It wasn't official. It wasn't in the contract. Now all my contracts will say, if you want to boost views, that's totally up to you. You can invest in advertising, but you have
Mm.
to use the official means. If I spot any spikes from like weird places, then you're out. And that video got deleted. They obviously paid for it, but I'm not risking the
But
entire channel because
mm,
and it's not even
and
a brand. It's like an agency of an agency of an agency. Like they got these
that's
tiny
exactly what I'm
little
caught with an
people go
agency. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
individuals with a Gmail account, not even working for an agency. Like they're
Yeah.
then charging the agency on your behalf. It's a whole scam around how ads get
I'm
placed
that
on
close to
our videos.
taking it
But
down. I'm just so worried about it. They paid
I
me,
would, I
so
would,
I'm in the
I would
box
at very
seat.
least say I will unlist it for now until you explain to me what's going on. Yeah, we can talk about it offline. But yeah, that is a
Yeah.
massive. I think that's a massive
Yeah.
no-no.
Yeah, I think unlisting is possibly the way to go because obviously every day this week I've been just so anxious about what's going on, and it had gone quiet. And then again, fun enough, there's the other half last night. Have you seen that the views had gone?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and so I
Even if
sent
it was
another email
official
last night.
through YouTube advertising, you'd still like the brand can't just do that, right? They should. It's a paid service because you might not want to. You might not want to have a spike from random because they will choose the countries as well.
Mm.
So I'd say if you want to boost the thing, that's fine. That's up to you. But there's an extra charge for it contractually.
Mm.
Tell you what, Dave, it's pretty nice that your other half is watching your videos to notice that the view spikes happen. My
My other
my
half
wife
has
hasn't
no clue. Yeah.
she hasn't watched a single one of mine since I started the channel. Right at the start of the channel, she suggested to me, "Oh, you should end your videos with like a catchphrase." And I looked at her. I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "What?" I said, "I've been doing the same thing for all of my videos for the last 6 months. I say, ew, and I cover the camera lens. That's how I end every video." And she went, "Oh." I went,
Yeah.
"Okay, so you haven't watched them."
Yeah, bang to rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
nice.
about she watched them. It's just that one particular one we were having some chats about. So I think she was just looking at the views on it. I don't know. We have had that discussion. When was the last video you actually watched then? Do you know I do a podcast? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It's fair enough. I mean, they're not our audience, right? But yeah, so I can't. I don't. I mean, if they were
Yeah.
making like a girly channel as well, you probably not watch it. Just
No,
to
I guess
play
not.
out.
I guess not. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's been quite a week. Been quite a week.
Yes.
So there you go.
I'm sure we
I
left
lived. I
stuff.
survived a cyclone.
Of course, we should mention that actually, because we woke up to you sent a picture, and I said, "Is that flooding?" And you're like, "Yep, that's flooding." It
Yeah,
was serious.
three-
How are you?
Insane.
Are you
three-
back home? You're back home now, bud.
Yeah, back at home now. 3 days without
Clearly
power.
got power.
So
Yeah.
had to stay at my parents for 3 days while the power was off, which inside with 2 children was a nightmare. We all got
And you all got
gastro.
poorly as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we all got
Yeah,
gastro, so we are all sick. My son threw
Yikes.
up everywhere on the first night we stayed at my parents. So yeah, it's just been a week and some change, and I'm glad it's over.
And I'm sorry to
And
make
you
it even
can't-
worse on Sunday, mate. Sorry about that.
That's Isaac
Oh,
double.
we've gone 360. We're back to football.
Bruno
And of course, all eyes will be
Guimaraes.
on your country this weekend, Daniel, because it's the Aussie GP.
Oh yeah, sure. Yep.
So
Yeah.
we'll be on Aussie time suddenly. Yeah. So and if you
Amazing.
have you been watching Drive to Survive this year? It's on form as ever. It's bang on point.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good series.
Can't wait for the season.
And-
Lewis Hamilton on
and,
Ferrari. Interesting.
I was I know. Can you imagine? I was just watching that, kind of getting before we finished, getting back to our sort of creator life and our filming life. I was watching Drive to Survive, thinking, as a finished flat article, it looks brilliant. But then you think of the editing of that. How many camera crews? How many clips? How many hard drives? All of that coming together in some edit suite somewhere. Jesus, they're genius.
They would
They
have a
really are.
pre-production team. They would have people watching the footage, clocking footage, like documenting footage. Like it would be a
It's seamless. About
it would be a
It's
thing.
beautiful, yeah.
Whereas here I am with 2 A6700s and a Samsung Notes file.
cut shut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a beast. So when you get an eye to what they're doing, you think, Christ, that is a piece of work. But anyway, right. So we will be back in a couple of weeks' time, cyclones permitting. These two be fighting about football. I'll check out because I've got no interest. And we'll be back talking. Yes, it's a black and white shirt. That's all I can tell you. And yes, I know who Alan Shearer is or was. Was in the sense of football.
Still alive.
Right, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. And thanks again for everyone that's been subscribing. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us that rating. We only want 5 stars, though. If you think we should, don't tell us.
Cheers all.
See you soon. Cheers, bye.
Don't start
I'll
with
leave
the
that in.
catchphrase. Yeah.